there, and welcome to the Reflection Show with me, Martha in Spice. Today we want to look at how we can stay safe as young people. As you know, the Martha in Spice Foundation is focused on helping every young person stay safe and strong. It's an election year, and because of that, our focus is making sure that every young person is healthy and strong. Many of us can and will be misled during this election, and we want to make sure that these things are prevented. Have you heard about gun violence or violence in general, either using the knife, etc., just because you do not align with a particular political party, or any form of violence in our communities, land disputes, etc. Today I want to look at how you and I can make sure that the small arms, the guns that we use or we can use to harm our colleagues are away from us, or understand the dangers and the effects that they pose. We'll be having a wonderful conversation on here on the Reflection Show, and I want to encourage you to stay tuned here on the show. I am Martha in Spice. Let's take a breather. When we are back, we delve into the conversation. Stay tuned. Hello everyone, today is a great day. We met over 250 women here to inspire them and to empower them. The focus was to make sure that the widows that we have in our society, the single mothers, the women who are bought twins and probably do not have enough on them, the pregnant women that may not be able to go for antenatal, among other vulnerable women. The target was 250, but we reached 271 women. I believe that whatever target that we set and whatever reach that we have been able to achieve has helped a lot of women to become better. It was a day for us to talk as women. They shared their perspective on women economic empowerment, teenage pregnancy, taking care of their children, and how they can do better. We danced. We modeled. We had fun. And I believe that seeing these women chill and enjoy themselves at this point, it's something really amazing. So the Martha in Spice Foundation, with support from few of our partners, we had some donations from the Universal Merchant Bank, UNB, and some individual philanthropists who helped us to make this day a success. We gave them bags of rice, bottles of oil, tins of mackerel, some tins of tomato paste. Some got soap, some got Dettol, some got cloth, some got even macaroni, and a whole lot of things. Clothes, shoes, handbags. We were able to distribute to these women, and we believe that they have been able to support us greatly. Thank you to Glow Events for glowing the whole setup for us as well, and to Aki's Kitchen for giving us an amazing time of lunch to refresh and to entertain these women. We really appreciate everything. We are glad that we touched the lives of these women. We are about to have a conversation with the National Commission on Small Arms and Light Weapons. I don't even know why the lighter is there, because every weapon is not light. Whatever it is, as far as it's a weapon, it can of course harm someone. I have been joined by Mr. Douglas Koku Anu. He is the program officer and regional in charge of the National Commission on Small Arms, and Mr. Salim Ahmed Salim, Assistant Program Officer of the National Commission on Small Arms. They're here to help us to understand why it's important. But on this conversation, I know that even adults or people probably can use or can be tempted, for lack of better words, but I want us to really concentrate on the young people, because we at the Matter in Spice Foundation, the Reflection Show, that is our focus for young people, and also because they are easily convinced to use these things. So first of all, it was my first time hearing about the National Commission for Small Arms until they got in touch with the Reflection Show. I had never heard anything about your organization. And you tell me that you've been in existence since 2007. Wow. Mr. Douglas, tell us about how come you went here from 2007 and I'm just hearing about you and what you do as a commission.
Well, thank you so much. Before I start with your question, I would like to say good morning to your cherished viewers. And I'll use this opportunity to also greet my boss, Mr. William Stanwell in Accra, and then the entire management of the Small Arms Commission, and my team here in Northern Region with us. As you rightly said, this is a commission that has been in existence since 2007, and we are right under the ambit of the Interior Ministry, and we are into, our mandate simply is to kind of, in a way, prevent, eradicate, and combat the illicit proliferations of small arms and their related materials.
Okay.
So, at the time of other security challenges, the international body, that is the ECOWAS, saw the need of bringing down its membership into a way that they can come together and then come out with laws and regulations to curb the proliferations of this, because security issues were escalating. So it was against this backdrop that Ghana came out with a commission, which was enacted in 2007 by Act of Parliament, Act 736. And as I already said, that is our mandate. So in fact, we work within 5 thematic areas. One of them is the arms control. That has to do with institutional strengthening, capacity building, infrastructure, and then legislation. Then the second one has to do with border control. So as I talk, we are fully represented in the various regions and at the border posts as well, and other advantageous points. Tamale, for instance, we have our Northern Regional Office right in Tamale, and then we have a substation along the Eastern Corridor, where we know that there have been a lot of arms smuggled through. So we also have the public education and sensitization. That is rightly what we are doing here. We also have a stockpile and inventory management. We would like to know the amount of weapons that are in Ghana, those that are legal and those that are illegal. This will inform our decision in dealing with these issues. So we also kind of advise the Interior Ministry on some of these policies issues. So these are some of the areas that we work around. So we have been in Tamale here or Northern Region for 2 years counting. So that is what the small arms is all about.
Straight. Now we've heard about what you do, and I'm glad that you said it's just been 2 years you've been in the Northern Region, because I've not really heard about you, but of course. Now, when we talk about small arms, I will delve into the light weapons, because I want to know why you describe some as light weapons, but the small arms, what do we know by or say by small arms? What does it mean when we say small arms?
So basically, this classification of arms, like my boss actually said, is derived from our signature or the treaty, the ECOWAS treaty. And so ECOWAS seeks to classify arms into 2 divisions: small arms and then light weapons. So small arms basically are the ones that an individual alone can wield. So say if an individual alone can wield a revolver, a pistol, AK-47, shotgun, any of the assault rifles, M16, G3s,
Please don't be mentioning them too much. Some people might be watching and they might go and catch them. But just give some two basic examples.
So
yeah.
like I said, any of these weapons that an individual can wield alone,
okay,
becomes a small
When
arm.
you say wield alone, like hold alone, use alone.
Alone.
Okay, please break down the terminology
So
for us.
that becomes a small arm.
Sure.
Then the light weapons basically are those that you need support by way of machinery or by way of another human being assisting you to use. So
that one rather is the light weapon. Okay, from the layman's perspective, when I hear light weapons, I would think that is the definition for the small arms because that is the one that I may be able to use.
Yes.
But the light weapon is the one that I need someone else to help me use. Okay.
So, for example, you see our military brothers and sisters on Seas March, which we just observed. They have some of the heavy machine guns that are kept on vehicles.
Okay.
They need the assistance of those vehicles to be able to operate those weapons. So those becomes they are considered as the light weapons.
Okay.
And then, for example, the RPG, which we normally see. I don't want to go deep into those ones, but mortar and bomb.
Okay.
We have the when you go with the military, it's
I think we see that in movies.
Yes,
people,
in movies,
somebody will rush, go and pick a bigger bomb, and somebody will just
all those
use it.
ones are light weapons.
Okay.
Sometimes you even need animals to be able to assist.
Really?
Yes, some of the weapons are said that you need animals. So some on donkey backs and horse backs, you mount them in such a way that the donkey or the horse can move along with them as you fire. So those becomes the light weapons.
Okay, so now we know the difference between a small arm and a light weapon. So the small arm is the one that you can use alone for, and the light weapon is the one you need someone's assistance to be able to use. This definition, if you have an exam, use that one, you pass. Yes, so we want to now look at, yes, you said something that I want to cover. You said legal and illegal weapons. How do I know what a legal weapon is and what an illegal weapon is?
Well, per the Arms and Ammunition Act 1962, Act 118, you know, to possess a weapon legally, you have to qualify for certain conditions before you can go in for. And one of those conditions is that you should have sound mind, and then someone of age 18 and above. Then you should also have the financial muscle to even purchase the thing. You should have a safe place to keep the gun. So these are some of the conditions. And physically, you should be fit. Because the gun is having a recoiling effect. So if you are not that fit and then you pick a gun to shoot, you end up probably shooting yourself or missing what you are going to do. So this is the criteria for someone to possess a gun. So if you are able to meet this criteria, so it means that there's a legal way that you can acquire a weapon. That is, you go to the police and then you attain a permit. Maybe later I'll explain it to details. So when you pass through this process, okay, let me just go rightly. So what you do is that you go to the police, the Arms Registry Department, you obtain a permit there. Based on this permit, when you fill the forms, the police are going to do background checkup on you, whether you have any criminal record or not, whether all these conditions I have mentioned, you've met them. If so, then they'll go ahead to do what? To lead you into an arms dealer who is registered to purchase the weapon for you. And then you use, they'll train you on how to use it. Now, if you pass through this process and you obtain a weapon, that weapon becomes a legal weapon in your name as a civilian. Because in Ghana, a civilian has the privilege, though not the right, to possess a weapon. So when you pass through this particular procedure and you obtain a weapon, that weapon is what? A legal weapon. A legal weapon can also be attributed to those weapons that our security services are using in Ghana. Because they are purchased by the government and they are used for security reasons. So they are classified under what? Legal weapons. Now, aside this vein, you also have people who are using weapons, though they might have bought it from other sources, but they've not followed through the initial channel that I isolated. For instance, another area too is this blacksmithing activities. Local weapons are no in Ghana. We have a lot of local weapons in the system, but the law does not permit the production, sale, and usage of those weapons. So no matter how you obtain it, it is being classified as what? Illicit.
Okay.
And once you purchase any weapon at all, whether you've imported it or not, and it has not passed through the right channel of registry, it is classified as what? Illicit weapon. So that's the differentiation between what is legal and then what is illegal. So we have a lot of illicit weapons in the country. Now, the major challenge we have is about those weapons that are being wielded in the system, yet they cannot be tracked. They are illegally purchased. And then those people who are even using them, they don't have any authority backing their registration to be using them. So that is the basic worry that we have. And that is the reason why we are here, to let people know that there is a process that you can pass. That is if you are qualified.
Okay.
And as I said, it is not a right to own a gun,
Yeah.
but it is a privilege. You can apply for, but without explanation, you'll be denied the opportunity to possess a gun.
Okay.
You can't do anything about it. So if you have any serious claim of it, though we are even discouraging people from purchasing it, so you should try to pass through the right channel. And if you don't have anywhere to start from, start with the commission.
Okay.
We'll direct you and lead you on how to go about some of these things.
But it looks like when you talk about the legal weapons or how to purchase, the commonest one we look at is a gun.
Yes.
Are there other weapons that people actually come to the commission or go to the police and say, I want to possess a weapon legally apart from the gun?
Well, if you look at the law, we have certain types of guns or weapons that only civilians can do what? Can use. We also have certain types that civilians cannot possess. So most of these weapons which civilians can possess is part of what he initially explained, the small arms.
Okay.
As for the light weapons,
no,
civilian cannot possess any
it,
type.
yeah.
And with the small arms, it is not every type. What they can only use the pistol or revolver. You have the pump action or the shotguns. The shotguns include those of the single barrel and then that of the double barrel. So you purchase these things for the reasons of probably protecting your own life or your property or hunting. So these categories that I've mentioned, pistols, the double barrel, the single barrel, these are prescribed, or the cap guns, which is used for traditional or traditional festivities or even say funerals. Aside these categories, you are not allowed as a civilian to possess any other category of a weapon or gun.
Okay, I think you've already explained who is permitted. But you see, this issue of mental health, is it that you have to go to the hospital for you to be checked? Let me come to Mr. Salim. How do they verify some of these qualifications?
These things, per the Act, which is the Arms and Ammunition Act of 1962, like he said, Act 118, that is the prescribed steps you must follow. But practically, it's deficient. And as we speak, like we said, this is an act that was brought into being some way back in 1962. So you see that the act is deficient. So there are a lot of things that, as we speak, the commission is working towards improving. That is by bringing out a new law that will seek to bring some of these things into the law. Like he said, currently as the law states, if you go through the process, I go through all this process, but the fact about you being trained, because I'm a civilian, I want to own a gun, but I don't have the requisite know-how on how to use the weapon. But the law is silent, as currently as it stands, it's silent on the training aspect. But if you go elsewhere, like South Africa, United States of America, Canada, most of these developed countries, you see that you have to go through a training regime. Sometimes for 6 months or even up to a year, for them to certify your skills and ability.
And even how to keep it, because that was it. I watched a movie where the lady, her gun was in a safe. And it was a fingerprint. So somebody was coming in and she just went in there, put her finger and she took out her gun. But I'm just wondering, in Ghana, how would somebody who has gone through all these trainings that you are mentioning, maybe my mental health is okay, I've gone through the process, I can buy it, I'm 18 years plus, but I bring a gun and it's under my bed. My child can come and play with it.
Exactly.
So let's just even look at it. With the Electoral Commission, for you to be guaranteed as a voter, it says you have to be 18 and of sound mind. So it's the same thing, 18 and of sound mind. But ask yourself, so as a registrar, someone registering someone to vote, I just look at you and I tell, okay, he's 18, he's of sound mind. But what actually tells that he's of sound mind? So it's the same thing. The law here is deficient. If you go, like I was saying elsewhere, you go through a rigorous psychiatric evaluation for them to even tell whether, of course, this person is of sound mind. Because to wield a weapon, it encompasses a lot. You must check the person's emotional temperament. All of that must come into account. Because if I am someone who has a high tenacity of being angry and you don't even know this, I come for a weapon. The next time I get into argument with my wife, I pull out my gun and you see, we are adding up to domestic violence. I
would always talk about the fact that it was self-defense. You know, sometimes I tell people that, well, we agree that you have gone through the right process to secure the gun, but sometimes we shouldn't just assume that because it's a right process and because I used it on someone else, it was self-defense. Sometimes it's actually intentional. So how do you ascertain that? So
now we are entering into the legal remnants of it. So like you were saying, you determine whether it's self-defense or it's premeditated murder. So sometimes it will deal with the legal arguments of it to be able to determine that it was actually whether actually a self-defense or premeditated murder. But because there are a lot of lapses in the law, like I was telling you, these lapses actually do not help. And that's what we are seeking to rectify at the moment. But like we said, Ghana, the laws, enacting laws is actually sometimes a bit cumbersome. And so we are seeking and working towards remedying these things, because in actual fact, there's a whole lot with the law. How I just walk into an office, how the office at the arms registry of the police service, how does it determine that actually this person is of sound mind? How does it even determine that? So he must even follow you to your home, but the law does not explicitly state that he must follow you to your home. Like you were talking about the gun safe, he must follow to the person's house to actually acquire and see actually whether the person has a gun safe. But this is not done. Mostly people just acquire their weapons, like you said, and it's under the bed. And because the person lacks training, recently we had a case here in Ghana where a pastor acquires a gun for himself because of the spate of armed robbery in the country. He acquires a gun. He's attacked by armed robbers. But because he lacks the skill and the know-how, you see, and a gun is so powerful that even when you wield it, you fear. You yourself wielding the gun, you fear. So he took the gun as the armed robbers approached, but he was shaking. And at the end of the day, he rather used the gun on himself, his wife. Because, like he said, there's this recoil effect. When you hold a gun and you shoot, there's this recoil effect that pushes you. So if you are not properly trained as to how to use it, you might even rather use it.
So it killed the wife.
It maimed her. She got injured.
Wow! Thank God she didn't die.
You see how it is. But if we don't take you through the right training, but people think, oh, the state of insecurity in the country is high and all that. So, like he said, it's not a right; it's a privilege. Under Section 19 of the Act, it's a privilege. The minister at any point in time, though you are given a weapon, the minister at any point in time can recall that permit and say, we are taking back the weapon. We are taking back the permit that allows you to wield the weapon. And you can't fight it. You can't fight it. It's because to own a weapon in Ghana is a privilege and not a right.
So, I don't know, one day it has to be now become a right. You mentioned something about the locally produced weapons.
Yes.
How I think that it can't be controlled, because we have a lot of rural communities that I don't think they even know you or you even know them. But we have festivals in our communities, and we see them in our fire festivals, in our Damba festivals, in our other festivals. We see people using guns. What does the law say? Is it allowed? What happens if, because once a while we hear that people actually get injured during these festivals. Is it just something that happens and we let go?
Well, to start with, in Ghana, during the 70s, I think the law permitted the importation of certain caliber of weapons that were those of the cap guns. And these cap guns mostly are used for our traditional functions, be it funeral or festival, because they were using the gunpowder, or what we call the blank cartridges. So these cartridges...
Oh, which one were you using when we were kids? Even Christmas, I've forgotten the name.
The toy guns that had the red...
It was a toy gun. There's some too. It uses powder, but it sounds like a gun.
Yes, that's the toy gun, the revolver, the toy revolver.
Okay.
I think that's what you are making reference to. So as time evolved, it got to a point that because people had access to these illegal weapons, they just buy it and then they use it anyhow. Now, if you look at talking about the locally made weapons, as I stated earlier, our law in Ghana does not permit the production of weapons.
Okay.
So any blacksmith that does this is an illegal activity. So if you go and buy a locally produced weapon, you are also into crime. What the law permits is that we have these security services that are using weapons. So the law has actually permitted that someone can come in for a license to repair those guns.
Okay.
So that was how the whole thing started. And once people can come and repair them, when they take it to them, though they are qualified to repair, they have the license and then they repair them. In the process of repairing, they are able to study each part of the gun. So it got to a point in time that they did what? They masterminded the parts. So, for example, he'll be producing the barrel, I'll be producing the butt, and you'll be producing another aspect of the gun. So at the end of the day, we assemble it, then we have what? A fully composed weapon. So now we have a lot of these weapons in the system, and every region has components of it. Every region has places that these weapons are produced. So that is it with the locally made weapons. They are not allowed and they are illegal. So it has developed to a national conversation whether we should nurture these our people, because anything that comes into being starts from somewhere. Whether we should recognize them and then do some further training for them so that they can perfect their production to supplement our government supplies, or we should just kind of ban it totally. So this is at a national dialogue level, which we are still on. So when you look at our traditional functions, what happened is that just like the way when you want to organize a public kind of gathering, you need to seek for permission to hold that function. The same way with the weapons. No matter who you are, when you are to fire a weapon within public gatherings, you should have sought for permission from the police, and you are actually issued with that permit to use the weapon. Now, we have already explained the type of weapons that civilians are allowed to use. So earlier on, I made mention of cap guns. So at these functions, those are the weapons that are supposed to be used. Funerals, you are supposed to use that kind of cap guns, a gun that is using a blank cartridge. Then at festivals, the same thing is supposed to be done. But most of the time, especially during the festival, we see them using live bullets that have projectiles. It can kill and people are hurt. So what we are advocating is that if you're having such a function, you have to notify the police of your usage of weapons, so that the police will know that you're actually going to fire guns there. And now, what are the caliber of weapons that you're allowed to use? Those are the weapons that I first explained that cannot harm people. Now, we are even advocating that it's about time we started doing something with our various policies. What are we supposed to do? To come together with them, agree with them, so that we know the number of weapons that you have at your palace. And then those guns are assigned to people who should fire them at festivals or whatever. So when anything is happening, and then you are at a festival, you are the type who is not registered with them, and then you are using a weapon, the law can capitalize on that. But right now, you have people who are not even within the palace, but they go around shooting it in the public. And when it is like that, the policeman or the military man cannot arrest anyone. Because when you want to arrest the person can do sporadic shooting, and more people will be hurt. Wow. So yes, that is the position of the law. You have to seek permit, and when you are granted, then you can use it And the type of weapons should be those that are prescribed.
So even though they don't seek for permission, they use this to win functions, but a police officer walking in cannot arrest them because of the fear of the more danger it can cause?
No, it's not the fear per se, but you see, aside those that can cause harm, we also have chieftaincy acts in those things. And in, some of those acts, they are actually in a way allowed to use such weapons for their functions. So that is why I'm saying that if we could work together with them to make sure that those guns are registered. But anybody who is using such a gun, like AK-47 and others, pump action gun with live bullet, we have been seeing them during festivals, especially Fire Festival, and then the rest. We have recorded the case at Aboabo in Kumasi and other areas. So if you are the type that has fired a gunshot and the security personnel are able to spot you and there's a possibility of arresting you, they shoot, because that is what the law says. It's a crime. It's a crime to use it without a public display of weapons. It's criminal. Yeah. And it is punishable up to about 10 years imprisonment.
Okay.
Yeah, so you cannot just go around shooting your weapon, whether you are even... It will interest you to know that, most especially in Tamale here, you are on the street and then you see people hanging their guns on their motorbikes or at their back. This one is tantamount to public display of weapons and it's criminal. But many people don't know that it is criminal. So that is why we are taking the opportunity to educate the masses about some of these occurrences.
Okay. It's getting interesting here. I believe that you watching have learned so much on this. It's something that most of us have never heard about, or today gives us the opportunity to delve deeper into the conversation on weapons. If there is something that I've learned today, is light weapons and small arms. Hey, I've learned something new today. Let's take a break. We'll be right back.
In our world today, gun violence is a real and tragic problem. Every year, thousands of people, including Ghanaians, lose their lives or are injured because of small arms. Some people usually use small arms when there is misunderstanding. But guns are not the solution. They only make the problem worse. Guns only make you vulnerable, not powerful.
Are you ready to transform your poultry farming experience to new heights? Look no further. Wumpini Incubators is your one-stop solution for cutting-edge automated incubators, perfect for both industrial scale farms and domestic use. Powered by solar energy, these incubators bring sustainability to off-grid communities. Explore our comprehensive services and tailored products like consultancy to farmers and firms, hatchery for all kinds of birds like guinea fowls, domestic fowls, quails, turkeys, and ducks. Also, you can purchase your locally produced feed to meet the nutritional requirements for your animals. At Wumpini Incubators, we sell day-old chicks ranging from guinea kids, layers, broilers, cockerels, turkeys, ducks, quails, and pea fowls. Whether you are an individual farmer, a research organization, a school, or an NGO, Wumpini Incubators has you covered. We proudly serve governmental entities in agriculture, ensuring a sustainable and efficient approach. For further inquiries, you can locate our office at House and Zongo, in the same building with the Premier Bird Company. You can also visit our hatchery service at Kumbungu Zona, just 1 kilometer from Julizo. Call us on 0241 250 896, 0206 158 382. Wumpini Incubators, where innovation meets agriculture.
Welcome back from the break. We're still having the conversation on the Small Arms Commission. And if there's something that you need to really pay attention to, I think it's this conversation. A lot of us are getting scared by the day on happenings around our homes, our environment, and sometimes we really get confused on what exactly to do. Yes, you can, as a citizen, go through the legal process to acquire a weapon. However, you need to understand that in as much as you acquire it, it's a privilege and not a right. And there should be some steps that you should go by to be able to use it effectively so it does not affect the other person. Now, you spoke about something about the trainings. Is it that there is no system to train? There is no one to train? Or the people that are acquiring it themselves are not patient enough to go for the training? Or we feel that, okay, so I watch Chinese, Indian, or American movies, someone comes, I just do and just power, and I'm good to go, which most times is just the effects that makes the gun sound. They don't even shoot the gun themselves.
So as it stands, because the law is actually silent on that, it contributes to the reason why we don't pay so much attention to it.
Okay.
But like I was saying, if you just oppose what happens in our regime to add elsewhere, it's part of the law.
Okay.
It's something you
it's
must,
a requirement
you must
yeah.
meet. And so if you don't meet it, you can't move on. And so you go through the training. So they have ranges where people go in there, are trained on how to use their weapon. But here, because we don't have some of these ranges, even the government, i.e. the ranges that we have are for only the security services. So i.e. the military, the police, they have their ranges where they train. But with the private ones, that should be used for, we don't even have private ones. So the law does not also permit civilians to walk into the ones that have been made for the security services to go there and train, because it's not explicitly said in the
okay, so I cannot walk to say the Ghana Police Service and say train you on how to use this gun. I can't walk to the now NIV, a National Investigator, BNI or NIV. I can't just walk there and say I want to be trained on this.
Now it will happen based on what relationships you are able to build with the said entity, but the law does not say they should do it. The law is very silent on that, and these are some of the things we seek to care. And so for now, for a police officer, like we're talking about even the psychiatric evaluation, for a police officer at the arms or armory to actually determine whether you are qualified to wield the weapon. Sometimes now what they do is they follow up into your neighborhood. So if you are married, you have a wife, you go to your wife, and then they ask your wife, maybe this person's temperament, how is he when he's angry, stuff like that, to actually evaluate
whether you should
you are qualified to hold a weapon or not. So these are the things.
So for a couple, do they have to should I say file or apply for one, or the wife can apply for one for herself, the husband too can apply for one for herself?
The registration is done individually.
Oh, okay.
So if a couple, you both need to go and apply.
So when there's fighting, pull your gun, I pull my gun.
Individually.
Anyways, I hope that that never really
now
helps.
that you are applying individually, maybe you have one weapon. So the weapon can be registered in the name of both parties, but each one must have a permit covering his registration.
Okay, so you can apply for one, but the permit should indicate that it's for both of you.
And then you should have the gun safe element is very, very important. Like we'll be coming to very shortly, I know, with the aspect of kids. You have kids at home and you don't have a gun safe, then it's a no-go area. Because what happens is that most of the time, we've even seen it in movies, these children come and they think it's a toy gun.
I was about to ask that. Do you think that it's, I don't want to use the word right, do you think that it's okay, maybe not okay, but let me save my question. do you think that we sometimes buying our kids water guns and all those things prepare their minds to some of these things? Because the water gun, I know that once I press a particular part, the water starts coming, we play with it and all that. Or the toy gun, sometimes if not water gun, the toy guns, it just makes those bang 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 noise. And you know that, okay, this is the button that I'm pressing. Maybe with a real gun, the kid will feel like it's something like that, and they can play with it. Do you think that sometimes exposes, not what I'm looking for, exposes the kids to being able to use these real guns and the effects? When it comes to Mr. Douglas.
Yes, to a far or further extent, it can influence them psychologically. It can influence them because what you perceive to be a toy gun and then the reality of it, the child does not know the difference between the two. There is a case that happened at one particular palace that I can't say it because we are here.
Yeah.
Two brothers, they both had sons. So the first brother's son, they were playing because they are used to the toy guns. So they were playing. One of them was having the toy gun, the other one wasn't having. But he knew back in his mind that his dad was having a pistol under the bed.
Gun.
So as the first one started using the gun on him, so he ran inside, picked the pistol, and came and hit behind the door. So when the other one was coming, he just discharged, and that ended the boy's life. So to him, such a boy, he doesn't even know that this one is the real gun, and then this one is the toy gun. So what they see is gun. So when your kid, be mindful of what you introduce your kids into. I know this thing has become a normal thing that, oh, kids, you have to buy guns for them, you have to buy guns for them. But as they grow, the education should be well done to them so that they understand what a real gun is and the effect of it. So to some extent, when you don't guide them properly, they'll grow up or even see a real gun thinking that it's still toy. And for that matter, they'll think that when they shoot you, you get up and come back to life.
I was about to say the same thing, because sometimes in the movies, they'll shoot the jack and the jack will get up and come. So they feel like they are playing.
Yeah, the thing is a playground. But they don't know that it is just a movie.
Maybe we need to also censor the kind of movies we show to our kids.
Yes, the content of some of the movies is very important.
So, actually, you know, when she posed that question, my mind went straight into media education. It's a whole topic that we need to talk about, and it's a national discussion, a national discourse that we must have on what kind of movies we air on TV and the timing of the movies, even the rating of the movies. Are we doing it right?
Right.
This is a whole discourse.
So if you look at what we explain under the law, under public display of weapons, it is not just by you having the weapon physically, but if you post a picture of a weapon, it counts as what? Public display, because you are kind of sensitizing other people about the type of weapon
just posting
that you
a picture of.
Yes, it's not allowed.
Some people have been posting some nice guns beyond their statues. There, all of them, they'll come and arrest you.
It's not allowed, even with the security. You see that nowadays you have certain men in uniform and women in uniform.
Who they'll just stand, guns,
and then take a picture and post it. Those things are not allowed. You are dealing with the public. We are trying to sensitize them about the dangers of some of these things. So when you begin to be posting with them, at the time, it will look like it beautifies your body. Everybody would like to have the type of weapon.
Yeah.
You see some of the security weapons they use, they're actually very nice. Some are very cute to be handled. So people desire kind of come, especially the youth. They also want to have some of them. That is where the problem will come. So it is not just only about you having a weapon and showing it in public that you have it, and it will become a crime, but also posting it. So coming back to what you were saying, the media exposure is very important. As he said, the time that certain movies are being showed. If you're having a gun in your house, how responsible are you to that particular gun? Are you having a safe, a place that you can keep it? Are you even well trained enough to have a weapon? And for what reason are you acquiring a weapon? So the weapon in actual fact has a psychological effect. So when you have a weapon, you think that you behave like someone who has taken, let me say, drugs or alcohol so much. It's like everybody is far below you because you know you have a power under you. So the least thing, you pull up your gun and then it's gone. Tamale here, we have a lot of issues here and we have a lot of work to do because we have a lot of weapons in the system. So when we did our consultation around, there are some hot points in town, and even some of the security services have equally confirmed that And in fact, if you arrest about 5 motorbikes, out of that 5 motorbikes, you should see 1 or 2
really?
guns under the motor. And to the extent that someone was even saying that sometimes they even use the weapon at parties as knockouts.
That's one.
The Game Boys.
That's one of the
the Game Boys
that we are seeking to pay attention to, especially at birthday parties. During birthday parties, you see most of the youth these days at birthday parties, the gun now becomes an object of entertainment. They take it up and they are giving warning shots. We call it warning shots because warning shots are supposed to give certain warnings in security apparatus. But these days they use it for fun. So you go to a birthday party and someone wields a gun and he's just firing. Yes.
As part of the celebration. What's the essence of it?
So these are some of the.
That's my first time actually hearing this.
Yeah. So we have a lot of issues.
And so, like you was talking about the public display. Just recently, the IGP has had calls to summon even some musicians. In the music videos, you see they expose certain weapons in the music videos, and he has had calls to summon them. But as you were saying, even some of the security operatives themselves, you don't know some of the things they do frown on the law. So a police officer now goes and has a nice picture taken with a weapon, and he posts that weapon online, on Facebook, on X, and people are liking here and there. He doesn't know it's an affront to the law. He doesn't know. So these are the things. So the education is not only to civilians, but somewhat to security operatives as well, because some of them are so ignorant of what the law says.
Hey, I wonder what would ever make me take a gun to my birthday party. What if somebody is jealous of me and just takes their guns and kills me and my birthday ends there?
There are a lot of issues that can trigger that. You know, we have the issue of this drug usage, drug dealings. And you know, most especially the Game Boys, that could be a source of income for them. So if they are into drugs and then a birthday is coming, maybe they want to kind of show what they have. And all of a sudden they have contenders coming in as to fight them. They are always conscious to what? Protecting themselves. So they'll always move with that gun. And one thing too is that once you have a weapon, it's like wherever you are going, you want the weapon to follow you. Yeah. Because you're anticipating that something will definitely happen.
Especially with the kind of life you lead.
Yes, the lifestyle that you live.
A certain. Anyways, I don't want us to dwell on them. That's their own issue. My focus are my children. It's an election year. What are we doing to make sure that the youth, the 18 years and below, or even the 20 years, 21, 22, because these are the people that are strong, especially the boys, the young men that are usually used. You see those times, sometimes not even a gun, they are with cutlasses, some are with machetes, some are with anything they can find. They can just get a big stick on the floor and they are going any road they find. I believe those are also part of the small arms.
Yes.
What education are we doing, or what can we do better to make sure, or what advice, like anything, even with their guns, what can they do properly, or what they should even be, let me say, safety measures they can take when they get into a place. Maybe I am working at a place where I don't have a small arm, and somebody have a small arm. How do I approach it so I am not hurt? Can I go and advise a person, or how do I go about it?
With the children, the foremost point of caution is, listen, as a child, let's just stay off these activities. It's an election year. Leave the election and the campaigning and all those things, leave it to the adults. If you are 18 and above and you are part of, you can vote, listen, then you have a business with the election. But other than that, the key advice is stay away from it. Because one thing that usually happens, and what usually that is the case, is that the children that are not part of what is going on, they rather bear the brunt of what happens. So let's even cast our mind back to just yesterday, or was it the day before yesterday, just in Karaga, this chieftaincy issue that happened. A shot was fired, and who bore the brunt? A child, 13-year-old.
Even in Tamale, I think, was it last year or 2 years ago, where around Lamashegu, there were lots of cars.
Yes.
And you could see some children. There was this young boy, I couldn't look at his face. The skin had tore because of a gun violence.
Yes. So just stay away. Remain at home. Pay attention to your books. You are the future. Just know you are the future and pay attention to that. Stay away from it. But those who find themselves there, that's why we are taking up this your avenue to actually spread the word. Tell people, listen, you are an adult, and because you're an adult, you think you can use a weapon.
Yeah.
But think about it. The ripple effect that would actually come back to haunt your kids at home, because you think once you destabilize a community, women and children, they bear the brunt of everything. And if you've noticed in war-torn areas and areas where there's complete chaos, what happens is the women and children that suffer the most. So for our women and children not to suffer, then we must find a means of what? Silencing our guns. This year, usually during election years, the Commission rules on an education sensitization program we call ballots without bullets.
Yeah.
So let's just go and have our ballots cast without the bullets. Let's silence the guns. Let's put them away. Listen, if you have a gun and you feel there's no need for you to have one, that's one thing we don't. These days, one thing we normally do is that we think having a gun is so.
It's a pride.
It's a pride.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to own a gun. But what we cause is that because we are all having guns, like I was telling you the case of a pastor who now goes to buy a gun. And you don't have the temperament to use a gun. The armed robber attacks you. What happens? You are rich and you've been able to buy a sophisticated gun. The armed robber comes in with the one that is prepared, the blacksmith prepared one. But because you are not strong enough, he comes in to attack you, and he's able to confiscate your sophisticated weapon and goes away with it. So tomorrow what happens? The armed robber will now have a standoff with the police. There's armed robbery, you call the police, and the police will tell you we can't go in there because the armed robber standing there is wielding an AK-47 and the police is wielding an AK-47. So where lies the power? So he's the same as a police officer. But the law, in its wisdom, the wisdom of the framers of the law, did it in such a way that the police officer is supposed to wield AK-47 so that his weapon has that power, or is above whatever a criminal will use, so that he's able to face off with the criminal and actually win whatever battle will come out of it. But here's the case that we are now going through our illegal means and are acquiring these illicit weapons
that are not supposed to be acquired.
Just recently here in Tamale, someone was caught with M16 rifle. M16 is a military grade, not even for the police. It's a military grade weapon, and you are caught with it. So what happens if this weapon is stolen from you and now goes into the hands of some miscreants? What happens? They are not even powerful than the police. And these are things that we are not taking into consideration, but these are the things that are killing us. So that is causing the insecurity, because the police cannot face off with armed robbers or criminals that are using sophisticated weapons just like them. So at the end of the day, the insecurity grows. And when the insecurity grows, it's the children and the women that will suffer. You go to Liberia and all those places. Liberians were actually brought to Ghana, stayed in Bujumbura. Women and children. The men did not come. It was predominantly the women and the children that came.
Unless you want to dress like a woman so that they will know that you're not.
So at the end, what happens? We even end up training the children to pick up arms. Because he's seeing his father wielding a weapon and carrying out all those things. So he also pick
I want us to delve more into the education that you mentioned. I've seen that you've spoken about ballots without bullets. We've seen that on TV, etc. But you see, how about community debates? Because on the TV, the advert is just like a minute and it's gone. That conversation mostly is in English. My mother, my brother in the village may not understand some of the words or the sentences in those in their message in those campaigns. Can we, I don't know, what measures are we trying to put in place? Not just because it's an election year, but in your organization, have you tried speaking with people maybe in the community, the grassroots, to make sure that, let me come to you on that, to make sure that we are not probably just saying that, okay, we are still on TV, we are on radio, but what happens beyond TV and radio?
Okay, just as what he was explaining, pertaining to the sensitization, actually we have decentralized into the communities. Apart from the radio sensitizations that we do and then the TV, I remember last 2 to 3 weeks, we had a program on the radio, and then it was a blend of English and that of Dagbani, so that we could reach the general public.
Great.
As it stands, we also go to the various schools to sensitize them. And because they are the elite, the English goes down well with them. So as the question goes, what about those who don't understand English?
Yeah.
Yes, we are also having plans of what? Translating whatever that we do into the local language. For instance, when you go to the aspect of the head office side there, most of the programs are being run in the local dialect over there. But because we have only started here, we are also doing it. For instance, we organize a program at one of the transportation unions. And there you could have a blend of people who understand the English and those who understand. So in as much as you speak the English, you have to also translate it into the local dialect for everyone to know. We have our border posts and our border communities. They are also into the border communities, and they are equally propagating that same message in the local languages. It's just that most of the time, you know, when it comes to some of these things, we had other challenges too that will definitely affect our work, resources issues. Because whatever that we are saying here, you can translate them into any other local language, but the resources, we are incapacitated to go
resources.
to certain...
We're supposed to keep the resources, the government, I guess, and it's not coming.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So
it's a whole... Most people that I believe talk to either on air or off air usually talk about resources from government, and I'm like, why can't we resource these organizations that are going to help reduce a chunk of the issues that we encounter in our society? Anyways.
Yeah, so we actually have other sponsors apart from the government. We have GIZ and that of the UNDP. They are our serious partners that always sponsor our activities. So as I speak, the ballot without blood, I think they come in to help with that one. And some other areas for us to do. But we are still calling upon resources so that we can do the work well too.
I don't have time. I want to take your final words on this. Maybe we have to plan again and do a second episode on this. But your final words, your location, or something you really want to talk about. Do you have helplines or not yet? If you have,
so there's a helpline. I don't really have it available, but there's a helpline to lead you to the head office in Accra. And so if you have a weapon, you want to surrender the weapon, you call the helpline. They will assist you on how to surrender the weapon as well.
Our own numbers.
Our own. We are here in Tamale.
Your office. I think you give us your office.
Eco Bank on the Gumani Junction. We are on the same building with the VRA and the United Nations offices. We are on the same building with them.
Would have the numbers projected on the screen so that you can copy the numbers as well. But your final words in general.
Okay. In fact, as we all know, we are in election year, and our peace is very paramount. We have only one country, and that is Ghana. If you look around, all the countries that are surrounding us, they're having a lot of issues, and we are even the country that is accommodating these refugees. Already, we have certain issues that are troubling us in Ghana here. So we have a lot of people coming in. The small that we have, we are to share with them. So now, if we are to run, where are we running towards? Are you going to Togo, Burkina, or Cote d'Ivoire? Because these areas are already into some of these terrorism and other issues. So we have only one Ghana, and one Ghana alone. So peace matters a lot. Even as we go into this election, we are kind of appealing to everyone. If you have a mindset of anything of destabilizing the country, kindly think twice before you go to the polls. When it is time, do your campaign peacefully, go to the polls, cast your votes, and then what? You go back home safely and rest and wait for the results. When they declare, if you want to celebrate, celebrate in a way that will not affect the other person. So we are calling that we can always sit down and dialogue issues instead of what? Picking up the arms.
Okay.
The arm is not a friend, but a destructive instrument.
Okay.
So let us all come together. The civilians or the populace is our partner.
Sure.
So if you see anything, try to contact us. See something, say something, so that together we'll have a peaceful election. Thank you so much.
Final words, if you can get that in about 10 seconds. My time is up.
Like my brother said, it's an election year. See something, say something. If you see anything, violent extremism is also on the hand. There are a lot of violent extremists coming in from the Sahel regions. So we all have to be each other's keeper. You see something, you say something. The Ministry of Interior's lines are available. The National Security Ministry's lines are available. The Commission is always open. Okay. See something, say something. Okay.
When you see something, you say something. I think the first time I heard this was, I think before the 20 elections. I don't know why. Sometimes I forget that we had elections in 2020. I want to say 2016 elections, but we had elections in 2020. And I believe that this episode has enlightened us and made sure that we understand we just have one country. We just have one Ghana, and no one except us can make our country what. Beyond politics, we know that chieftaincy issues and other issues has also been very rampant in our society. I wish we could play with politics like how we play with football, how you could see Arsenal fans making fun of Man U fans. It's so lively and lovely, but when it comes to politics, it's always guns and weapons and all that. It's an election year. I don't want to lose any of the young people that I dearly love so much. The Matter Inspires Foundation, we are still calling on partners and support for our reading clinic, that's our library, for our donations. All year round, we pick up support for our foundation as well. If you want to support or sponsor the Reflection Show, we are also appealing for sponsors in that regard. Our contact is on the screen, 054-9578-512. Give us a call or go on. Now the Reflection Show has its own Facebook page, so we are no longer trying to say streaming or showing on the Matter Inspires Facebook page. So go on Facebook and search for the Reflection Show and like the page, and anytime we post or we are live or any content, you would of course be notified. Make sure you invite your friends and family to like the page, because great things are about to happen on the page. We are hitting 3 years very soon, and I just can't wait to unravel the great things that we have for you. Don't forget to support and to sponsor. As always, our Matter Inspires. Do have a good night.